or it makes you want to fornicate. So when you heat it, right, you want to make sure that you eat foods that cool you down, like cucumbers or live juice. You know, so food has a direct impact on our mental and emotional well-being.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And so I'm going to open this question up for the entire panel. Anyone can feel free to answer. It's no secret that we live in an area where there's fast food restaurants literally in every single vicinity that we look, right? And when you are talking to people, it's probably easier and quicker to go and get that two for something special. And when you start to talk about nutrition and health, they start to associate that conversation with cost, right? And or, oh, well, that's not what I'm into. So how do we then get the education out a little further into our communities about making the correct choices? Yeah.
One of the things that we have been hoodwinked into understanding is that
Your mic up a little.
cover.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you. One of the things we've been hoodwinked into believing is that these fast food establishments just pop up in our neighborhoods. They don't. What happens is that there's a plan. You've got lawyers, you've got landlords, they coordinate, they create a lease. That lease is signed, and then guess what? We go in and we support the business. If we don't go to those businesses, everyone, the landlord, the lawyers, the police officers, everyone understands that, oh, in that neighborhood they don't need that. The demographic decides what comes in their neighborhood. The demographic decides what stays. One of the biggest issues that we have coming from another country, seeing blacks here, seeing blacks globally, is taking in this understanding that somehow, some way, things happen to us. I need you to understand that there is an agenda against us, yes. There is an agenda against our communities. But one of the things that happens is we are active participants in that agenda. And that is the first line of defense. Your food, the starches, the fruits, all of those things, those create what we call high cortisol levels. When you don't sleep, when you're constantly on your phone, when you're constantly bombarded with decision making, there's no downtime. That is what creates an environment in your body that makes you almost manic. You're not thinking properly. You're eating. You're overeating. So you need to understand what's happening. Clean up your house if it's disorganized. Start with that. It's a mental process that is going to dictate your life. One of the things that I want you to walk away from here understanding. You put your mind to changing your community, it will change. The landscape of this community is not the landscape in Bayside, in Manhasset, on the Upper East Side, not because they're not targeting there. It is because those community members have shown those people that you will not sit there and you will not degenerate us. You will not sit there and take away our food supply. You will give us an adequate food supply. You will give us the proper nutrition that we need. They make sure of that. By the simplest, not going to support that entity. Your money speaks volumes. Remember that. You are not a victim. I can't say it enough. You're not a victim. You're not poor. I've seen people say they're poor, and they're living in a $600,000 house. That equity is sitting there. You are only characterizing yourself as being poor because you're listening to an oppressor that has labeled you. throw off that label, get on top of it, get your decision-making in order, make out plans, get up. There's a ton of parks that are not being utilized in our communities. Get up, sweep the streets, get up, call the politicians, let them know the sanitation department needs to come through and do a sweep. Get up, let them know that the sanitation department needs to empty out the receptacles. Get up, get your communities clean. Get up, tell them that you want grocery stores that don't smell. Get up, tell them that you want your schools to be equipped with the necessary resources to allow your kids to learn. Get up. Get up now.
Ms. Pat, can I also answer your question? You mentioned people not having a lot of money, when they say fast food. Two things, knowledge is power. During COVID, we had no choice and we had to make our food before we left the house. So we've proven that we can do it. And you're worth it. The second thing is, if you saw on Instagram recently, they put a blowtorch to a Big Mac, and it didn't burn. It didn't melt. So knowledge is power. The third thing is, here's a quick tip. Have a liquid meal before your solid meal. If you have a liquid meal that has juice or natural nutrients, it will give the blood what it needs. And then 20 minutes later, when you have your meal, you may find you're not as hungry. Also, don't eat until you're stuffed. Eat to 80%. Leave some room for movement. Those things will help your meals go a long way.
Just absolutely incredible information. Thank you both. Wow. Dr. Witherspoon, let's talk about the impact of food as it relates to chronic diseases.
That's definitely one of my specialties, thank you. So I've created different diets depending on people's ailments. And I've seen some absolute miraculous recoveries from people with cancer following my cancer diet for 3 months. I've had at least 6 people just in the past 7 months eliminate their cancer just by not following this diet. It is very restrictive, but these people would rather follow a restrictive diet for 7 months than do chemo, radiation, or mastectomies or surgeries. Now, I'm not opposed to any of those things if you need it. So I never tell anyone they shouldn't do that. People come to see me because they've already decided they wanted to try a natural route first. And I tell them we'll work together for 2 months. I want you to go back. If that tumor's not shrinking, then you may have to follow a different medical regimen. But so far, everyone's tumors have shrunk, and at the end, when they go back, there's just nothing but good, healthy tissue there. So I have diets for people whose kidneys are failing, people who are diabetic. Now, diabetic is strictly a choice unless you have type 1 diabetes. And that's a whole other story. But for type 2 diabetes, that is a choice of your food. And again, I have a diet that eliminates lots of the foods that are causing insulin spikes, which causes immediate inflammation. So people don't realize that they're consuming a pound or 2 of sugar a day. And how are they doing that? They're drinking fruit juices and fruit smoothies. The biggest disaster ever. Before 1970, no Americans, race, creed, whatever, no one drank fruit juices, with the exception of maybe lemonade as a treat on Sunday. But no one drank apple juice or orange juice. No one drank these things, and no one ever heard about a smoothie. That's something that kind of happened in the late 80s and 90s. So this is what I want everyone to think about. And when I tell people in my practice this, they get it. Our human bodies are designed to digest 5 milligrams of sugar per hour. That is the amount of sugar you get in 1 apple. But what are people doing today? They're picking up orange juice. Now, generally it took about 5 to 6 oranges to make that orange juice. That is 30 milligrams of sugar that you suck down in 15 seconds. Huge disaster. Remember, the body can only manage 5. And you can drink, you can have orange juice in the morning is 30 milligrams. Then someone has a fruit smoothie in the afternoon, that's 86 milligrams. When you start adding this up, you've had a pound of sugar a day. So what does the body do with that? First of all, it's huge inflammation, makes it very difficult for your body to function in a healthy way and begin to deteriorate. So the body then will use that 5 milligrams, but the other 80 milligrams, it puts in fat cells, and it's in the 80s where we started seeing people get obese. Before 1970, if you were over 60, then you will remember when everyone was slender. Anyone who went to look at your parents, if you're younger, then look at your parents' high school pictures. No one's overweight. Not grandparents, not parents, not teachers. Before 1970s, no one was overweight. Now some women were thicker, but they still had a flat stomach. And they had lots of energy. Look at pictures of some of the old churches. My grandfather was a minister for 20 years until he passed, and he built it to 7,000 members. That church is still active in Harlem. No one was overweight. About 2,000 of them were seniors. They were not on walkers. They did not have knee replacements. I don't even know there were knee replacements then. And they had lots of energy. And in fact, they were the people, the seniors, the 70, 80, and 90s, who ran all of his programs that he had developed in the Harlem area for parishioners and even those who were not a part. They could come and partake in any of the programs that he ran from his church. But it was the seniors, it was retired people who came in and did the work. These people, and so today, what do we see? We see so many seniors on medications, they got arthritis, they're on walkers, they're overweight. This is a huge disaster. It's destroying every community. The most obese community ever is West Virginia, and that's 90% white. But everywhere we look now at colleges, half of the students are overweight. Being overweight is not healthy. Your gut, the fat tissue, the visceral adipose tissue in your abdomen area makes inflammatory molecules 24/7. It makes extra estrogen that can grow cancer anywhere in the body. So being overweight is not healthy. And I see a lot of videos on the internet telling young women, oh no, it's okay, we just love ourselves the way we are. When you love yourself, that is not your body. That's your spirit you're loving. That is the person that is within you. Because when we pass, that soul, that entity moves on and hopefully goes to the right area, goes to be with the Creator. But this body is ultimately discarded. But while we're here, while we've been given the privilege of having a body, I believe you need to take care of it. It's your temple, and right now it's the only one we have. So these are the things I encourage when people follow the diets. I put them on the food plans. Everyone's weight goes back to normal. And their autoimmune diseases disappear. Their thyroid improves. Everything improves when you are eating what's appropriate to restore your health.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that information. Dr. Pryor, you worked in the social justice criminal arena for a very long time, and you probably have worked directly with some people who have been socially impacted in many ways. So how do you use your experience to kind of push this wellness conversation around those individuals that you're surrounded with?
Let me say this. It's already been stated up here by all my prestigious panelists that the things that are happening in our lives is not a coincidence. It's no accident that our communities have a grocery store and a liquor store and a chicken place on every other block. It's not a coincidence that they have us all concentrated in one area. It's not a coincidence that it just so happens that 1 out of 4 black men are going to have contact with the criminal justice system sometime in their life. It's no coincidence that 7 out of 10 individuals that come out go back within a year, and 70% go back within 3 years. It's not a coincidence. The fact of the matter is that we're operating in a system that was not designed for our best interest. Now, I was brought up for many years, advocating, saying the system is broken, the system is broken. You know what I found out? The system is not broken. The system is operating according to the way it was designed. It's producing the outcomes that it was engineered to produce. And so the fact of the matter is that the criminal punishment system, not criminal justice, there's no justice in it, and it's all criminal. In fact, we have people that they got 34 felonies and they went to prison. That's a whole other situation. But the fact of the matter is that we have a system that is not fair, that is not equal, that's very oppressive, and a system that keeps our community stressed out. We stressed out. Because from day one, we're pushed out, locked out, and shut out. Treated unfairly. Everybody's watching us. We're under surveillance. We're criminalized every single day of the year. Even in the public school system. They start very young. And we don't understand that the school-to-prison pipeline is real. This is not urban myth. It's an actual fact, and decisions are being made in the public school system that are resulting in you and I ending up in the criminal punishment system. This is what we have to understand. You have mental health, you have physical health. I know that the mind controls the body. So if in fact we want our bodies to be healthy and clean, we first got to get our mind right. And in order to get our mind right, we got to get out of the state of psychological slavery. We have to break the chain. First of all, let's stop watching television. Every time you watch television, you get lies told to your vision, right? Every time you watch the TV, you're getting your damn program. And the program is telling you who, what, where, when, and how. Well, that's really not real. It's not healthy for us. It's no coincidence that we live in food deserts. If you don't have nutritious food, then when you go to school, you can't concentrate because your body doesn't have the vitamins and protein that make it necessary for you to be able to maintain focus in school. None of this is a coincidence. All of this is part of the design. So what we got to first do is stop feeding the system. Now, I know it's easier said than done. But we got to stop going into the prison system and the jail system. And there's some things that you can do to do that. When I was young, that was a little while ago. But when I was younger, I used to like money. I used to like lots of money. And I used to get lots of money. Lots of it. And when you got money, you get attention, you get nice clothes, you get the girls. So who doesn't want that? All of us are craving for attention. We want to be recognized. We want to be noticed. We want to be acknowledged. Unfortunately, the ways that we're going about doing it are self-destructive. So we need to have some forums like this so we can teach each other some skills on how do we begin to break those psychological chains of slavery, and how do we empower ourselves? How do we open up our mind? How do we change our attitude, because our attitude determines our latitude? We got to begin to see things differently. We got to see the glass as half full rather than half empty. We have to be able to understand that every situation we run into, we have the power to transform it. We can change it. We don't have to settle for what we're settling for. We need to get up, we need to step up, we need to empower ourselves and change our reality. That's the short version. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to get into the detail, but maybe my sister Linneth Townsley Ventures does this on the regular. We create a follow-up forum for us to begin to go a little bit more in depth on how do we begin to change our circumstances.
Okay, so I want to make mention of this before we go. So yesterday, I was going over all of the bios, and I called Linneth and I said, Linneth, you mean to tell me you got all these powerful people, you gave me 45 minutes? Is this right? She said, yeah, Pat. But do you see this conversation continuing? Do you see it as a symposium? Do you see it across the airways? Can you see the vision? Like, this is very, very important. can share for people who don't necessarily know some things that have medicinal properties that can help their health.
Thank you. So, before we get to the food that have the medicinal qualities, I want to let you know that because everything begins in the gut, the disease, the bacteria, so whenever you have an extended gut, that's a sign that if you can manage your gut, you will live longer. That's one way of living, adding many years to your life, is to manage your gut. In order to manage your gut, you want to manage the foods that you eat. And some of us have a problem because we have a disorder. Came from slavery, that's where it came from. It's a generational disorder. We have been exposed to atrocious acts that have traumatized us. This trauma lives in us. So first we have to deal with the trauma. I know some of you want to lose weight, and I know how hard it is. And people keep telling you, eat the right food, have discipline. I want to tell you to talk to someone, and you could always talk to me. I volunteer. You can talk to me about some of the traumas that you are experiencing, have experienced, that lead you to want to overeat the wrong foods, the comfort foods, the sweets, the macaroni and cheese. In our community, we make it real cheesy. It's a sign, it's a badge of honor. Who can make the cheesiest macaroni